So again, if I ask something too personal, you don't have to answer, but I want to start by asking you, how did you grow up?
I grew up in North Hollywood. I grew up in, it's in the San Fernando Valley. I was brought up Catholic. We went to Catholic school. I got communion when I was in first grade. And then I went to St. Charles Borromeo, it's a Catholic school, for 8 years. And then I went to Notre Dame Catholic High School until I got booted out. I got booted out right before my senior year because I was considered not a Notre Dame man. From the vice principal, who turned out to be himself gay. And of course, in the Catholic Church, you're not supposed to be practicing homosexual, even though I think he was. And then he eventually married, I think he got rid of the priesthood. He became a priest too eventually, and then he gave it up and then married somebody in Van Nuys, and I think he worked as a plumber, and now he's dead. But here's the irony of that whole thing, is that even though I got kicked out of Notre Dame, it was kind of somewhat traumatic because he said I wasn't really a Notre Dame person. If you look at Wikipedia under Notre Dame Catholic high schools of notable alumnus for the year of 1974, which is the year I should have graduated, there's only one person mentioned, and that's me, even though I never graduated, which is the great irony. I wish I could tell my parents. I go, look, I'm getting booted out, but you give it 30 years, 40 years, they're going to put my name as some notable alumni. And the reason I mention that to you is that I had a problem with Catholicism, as you can well imagine, because what happened is it was so constrictive, and it had such a parochial version of how a human being should be. And I had read about Eastern religions, I had done all sorts of things like that. So then eventually I go to college and, get a bachelor's degree and two masters and a PhD. So that's kind of been my...
So were you an only child?
No, I'm the youngest of four. I had two brothers and a sister. My sister is a lawyer in New York, very smart, very brilliant. And then my oldest brother, Mike, died at the age of 45. He was a professor of business at West Virginia University. He was a war hero, won the Silver Star at the Vietnam War. Great guy, loved him to death. And my other brother, Joseph, who I love dearly, he recently died about 4 years ago, and he was head of the court system in LA.
So, is there something that happened in your early childhood, or what would you say was something that made you really believe in what you believe? And when I say this, I think of the theory of evolution and everything that you believe in.
Well, it has nothing to do with the question of belief. I got to back that up a second. First of all, I was once asked in a newspaper interview by Dodie Bellamy. She's a fairly well-known writer because I had exposed this religion called Eckankar, and she was a member of it. And I got her out of it for some reason when she read my book. It's different than this. She asked you, because what do you really believe? You went to the Catholicism, you've been to India 11 times, you meditate, you're a vegan. What do you really? And I go, look, I like to be real clear here. I didn't know anything when I was 4. I didn't know anything when I was 14. May have been arrogant, or 24. I'm almost 70 years old. I'm 69, I'm going to be 70. I don't know anything ultimately. I've read thousands of books, got written lots of books, been around the world. I don't know anything ultimately. I'm stupid. And so I always say I'm a mystical, agnostic materialist. And they go, what the hell is that? I go, well, sometimes I think this way, sometimes I think this way, other times I think this way, which means, you're going to like the pun here, I'm confused. And I don't mind saying that. And the reason I say that really honestly is that if you and I were to look at a squirrel or a cow and ask them, how much do you understand of the universe? You would obviously know they don't, because you know the limits of their cranial capacity. Therefore, it's hubris of me to think I actually know something ultimately. I don't. Everything's tentative. Everything's temporary. Yes, I like the theory of evolution by natural selection as developed by Alfred Russel Wallace and Charles Darwin. I like it because it's the best explanation that we presently have. It could be a better explanation later on, right? So you have to be accommodating.
So does that mean that you're still searching for the truth?
I'm not. Look, it's kind of arrogant. Watch this. See if this works. The idea that truth is some kind of objectivity, that there's something with a capital T that we're in quest of, actually presumes something. I think it's different than that. I think each day we're trying to adapt to our life and do the best we possibly can. Whether I think I get the truth is a little arrogant, because if, as far as I can tell, I'm too limited to know what the truth is. Just like a squirrel doesn't go around looking, I'm going to go find the truth. That's kind of a human, what I would call hubris of human beings. And you get this in religion. People believe they have the truth, therefore they want to convert others to it, right? I don't have that assumption. I just don't know.
I've heard once, long time ago, that maybe you know about this, that everybody that says that they don't believe, they actually just want to be convinced. They want somebody to convince them.
Yes and no. It's not that I don't believe. Like, for instance, I believe I love my wife, and I believe I love my kids, and I believe that meditation's good, and I believe it's good to be a vegan. All that stuff is fine. I just mean that I don't have an absolute certainty about anything, because in life, my brain's very limited. And because it's so limited, I don't want to have the conceit.
What would you say is the most important thing, like from the point of view of someone like
Be
you?
kind. Be kind. This is a tough life. You know, the Dalai Lama says that. I think he makes the argument that the religion is be kind. Well, let me put it differently. There's about 108 billion people that have lived on this planet, as far as we can tell. Right now, there's about 8 billion plus people. Fair enough? And it's brutal. People are dying, there's suffering, there's cancer, there's AIDS, there's car accidents. It's a horrible place. It's a horrible, horrible place. That's why Buddha came up with the first noble truth. All life is dukkha, or suffering. We'll just play that, it's clear, right? So everybody dies. So, okay, given that situation, how should we treat each other? Well, maybe a little kindness, a little sweetness, a little compassion, a little
But
empathy.
then why is that important if everything is about the survival?
Well, because that's how you survive. Just play it out. Watch. If I help you out right now, and then later on some situation comes up and you go, oh, be reciprocal, you go, you might help me out. That's why people are nice to each other. That's the reason we don't. People always say this to me. They always say, well, don't you believe in an objective moral standard? I go, wait a second, time out. I said, you don't need an objective moral standard to stop at the red light. You stop at a red light because you don't want to get killed. I don't want to kill anybody. I don't even have a desire to kill anybody. So if that's the case, then a little sharing of compassion to other people is to your survival, is to your benefit.
So do you think we do it because of that? Just because of...
There's a multiplicity of reasons. There's selfishness. There's sometimes you just want to help. Like sometimes you just want to give $20 to a homeless person because you kind of imagine I could have been that person. I don't think you have to have these deep, profound reasons for why we do what we do. I think we just kind of react. I'll put it this differently. Let's see if this makes any sense. You and I were born genetically with certain hardware and certain software that you and I didn't choose. And because of that, we respond accordingly. Like your parents are different than my parents. The education you had is different than my education. And so we come into the world like we don't know what the hell's going on. We're just reacting to it. And we're reacting the best we can. So it's very important for me, at least, to imagine what is it like for that person to live. Have a completely different life experience. Is it really smart of me to act like, oh, Mr. Judger? I haven't walked in his shoes.
So I'm going to have to look at some of my
No,
questions
you go right ahead.
because we can cut this out.
No, you don't have to cut it.
So-
That's half the fun of it.
Actually, I just literally just asked this, but this was like very, very important. When I listen to you talk, it's hard for me to understand. Like I told you, actually, I'm not going to talk about myself.
No, you do talk because that clarifies the whole point. Go for it.
I'm not familiar with other culture, religions,
Right.
and beliefs.
Right.
So it's interesting to me, and I want to find out, how do you see, kindness, compassion, morality, honor? Because I don't think that I've ever talked to anybody just like you that really knows a lot about the topic. Not that not a lot of people don't believe in theory or evolution, they just maybe don't know a lot about it like you do. So that is because for me, when I listen to you, it seems like there is no place for compassion or morality or kindness. Like everything is about survival. Do you know what I'm trying to
Well,
say?
watch. I understand what you're saying. Look, Darwin comes up with this thing, and we just talked about this last week. Variation in inheritance, selection, including time equals design. It acts like, let's imagine, there's no God, let's just say. And we just got thrown into this relatively random place. We're just all around. And so people then ask, they do ask that question, you know, where do you get your morality? Well, I would argue from evolution. It's very simple. Think about it. If the only people that survive are the ones who can live long enough to transmit their genetic code, because you have to get past the age of, say, 14 or 15 years old, then it makes sense that we would have evolved a sense of a conscience, a sense of a navigating device, in order to be more compassionate to those in our tribe or our parents. Because if you kill your parents early on, less likely to survive. If you kill your kids, guess what? You just screw the genetic trail that you wanted to pass on. So the notion that you get compassion or kindness from religion, that is from top down, I argue the opposite. You get it from the fertilizer of living for millions of years of genetic code being transmitted. Therefore, all human beings, I would argue, more or less, have the desire to eat. Do we agree? Right? That's just genetic. You come out. Therefore, one could argue that all human beings have the capacity for moral navigations. How they fill those moral systems has certain parameters. Like we all know that we're resisting killing people in our tribe. We just tend to not want to kill people like our parents, our brothers, our sisters. We also don't want to have sex, generally speaking, genetically speaking, with people who are our siblings. There's this feeling, it's almost a gut thing that may have risen genetically. So I would make the argument that morality doesn't need religion. That is, morality can rise on its own as a survival tool.
How about the selfless love? Do you think it exists? Do you feel like that towards your family?
I'll give you an example. I say this every day because I'm very religious in a way. You probably would be surprised, because I meditate, all sorts of interesting things. But I pray all the time, and I have one prayer, and this is very honest of me. I pray that I die before anything happens to my wife and to my 2 kids. Kill me. Okay? Now watch. If somebody came to me and said, I'm going to kill you or I'm going to kill your kid, I'd say, kill me right away. Please. Please. And now you want to say, oh God, that's what an altruistic, what a good dad. No, it's nothing to do with it at all. It's just the way I feel. It's just responding from the reptilian brainstem perhaps, or my emotional part of my brain that, no, I just won't love my kids. Now, can I explain it? Can I give it some kind of logical right? And I can't. It's just the way I feel.
But to me, that feels like something that's completely against the theory of...
No, not at all. Because
No?
if it what? We'll just play it out the difference. If I die, my kids survive. And guess what?
Oh, it's just practical as that.
No, but just think about it. I'm not saying that that's what is in my head. But you can see this from if you look at it more obliquely, you can see that if my kid survives, he shares 50% of my DNA. That gets passed on. Now let's imagine the reverse. Let's imagine everybody's just self-centered and all they care about is themselves. Guess what? There is no society. There is no civilization. There is no species. So, from an evolutionary perspective, we must have adapted to develop the ability, the feeling of altruism for those that are close to us and also for other people.
Just like we developed
That's right.
something else.
That's right.
Which probably okay. That is interesting. That is interesting. Do you? I'll just rate it just like this. Do you ever long for something more than what evolution can explain? I mean, but you kind of explained that when you said that you even pray.
Oh yeah. Listen, I read the autobiography of a yogi when I was 11 years old. When I was in first grade, I had a bet with Pat Donahue that I'd be a priest or a monk, and I had a longing, what C.S. Lewis called, and I mispronounced it, shenshu, a nostalgia, a feeling for something beyond, the world. So I eventually went on a very deep spiritual search at the age of, 11, 12, 13, 14. And I was looking for, I went to this teaching, I practiced this yoga, I did deep prayer, I did all sorts of things until finally I found a guru in India when I was 17 years old. And he was a great guru because he basically blew me off because I wanted to get initiated into an ancient practice called Shabbat Yoga. And he had a limit that he had to be like 22. So for 5 years, he just blew me off. Like, he'd write me letters and say, don't write me again, and blah, blah, blah. And so I eventually got initiated, which means I meditate. And I meditate on this internal sound, which is called Shabbat or Nada Yoga. And it's in all the world's religions on some level. In fact, I wrote a book over there, Cambridge University Press. They asked me about a couple years ago, the editor that wanted me to write a book on Shabbat Yoga about the world's religions. So I did that. So I have a deeply spiritual feeling about the world, but here's the punchline. I don't buy into the mythology of that particular path. I don't buy into the kind of overhyped explanations for it. So I do believe that all people have a spiritual feeling about it. The only difference is that people get very dogmatic of explaining their experiences.
How did your family react when you were 11 or 12?
Not good. Because not good. They looked at, come on, brought up Catholic. You got some weirdo kid who turns vegetarian at 16, primarily because my mom's cooking sucked. And no, it's literally a true story. And so they obviously thought it was a weirdo. Because, I mean, come on. And all my friends are like, what the hell is with this dude? He got some weird pictures of some Indian guru. He guy meditates, he's vegetarian. They all thought it was nuts, which is understandable, but it really meant something to me, and it still does. Even though I'm known as a skeptic or a critic, even of my own tradition, because I do believe prayer, not for getting things. Let me be clear. I don't think prayer gets you anything. I think it helps you. And I think meditation helps you. And in that sense, I believe in it. That is in the sense that it gives me some kind of efficacy, it gives me a feeling that I enjoy. So, yeah, they thought it was strange. Definitely. It's okay.
When I think of everything you say, I think of an old story. I don't even know who told me this story, but about this very knowledgeable priest. And he read a lot of books. He knew a lot of things. And one of these days, he went to this old village, met a farmer there. And he realized that he didn't even know how to read. He didn't know anything. But he told him that every night before he goes to sleep, he brings a little bowl of milk and puts it in front of his door because God comes every night to drink the milk. And the priest told him, "You're so dumb. You're so you don't need you know nothing. You don't read Bible. You're a literal you." That's not God, come tonight with me and we're going to stand, and watch how your God comes and drinks your milk. So they stayed awake, and as they were watching, this fox comes, drinks the milk, leaves, and of course you can imagine farmer was heartbroken, and he was like, I told you, you're so dumb, you're so stupid. So the night when the priest goes to sleep, he falls asleep and he dies in his sleep. And when he dies, he goes in front of the God, and God in all his might
or glory, yeah.
His glory says to him, why did you do this? I was sending this fox every night to drink the milk.
Yeah. That's a great story.
Because of his faith.
That's a great story.
Did this. So.
No, it's a very sweet, but I like the story. In fact, I'll give you one from Tolstoy that's very famous. It's about these three hermits. You may have heard of it. I love Tolstoy. It's a famous story. What happens is this preacher, a guy who knows the Bible, knows everything, he hears about these hermits on this island, and he wants to go visit them. So he goes to visit them. And the hermits have a very simple prayer, like, oh Lord Jesus Christ, have mercy on me, or whatever it may be. But he goes, oh, you're not sophisticated in the scriptures, you're not, I'm going to teach you, I'm going to give you this. So he gives them a new prayer to say, right, or whatever. And the story goes, he takes the ship, he goes onto the ocean. I think I'm bastardizing the story, but goes away. And as he's going away, I think one of the hermits or two of the hermits, they float on the water. You've heard the story.
I know the story.
Yeah, it's a great story. And he goes, then he realizes how full of crap he was. But let me reverse that story a little. Let me tweak it. You'll notice that in the story, that little naive person loses his faith, right? When he finds out it's just, the story, the way you told it, he was like upset because he found out it was a fox, not God, right? Now, my argument is a little different. My argument is that genuine faith, that is, genuine light, can withstand the explanation. That is, you find out it's just a fox, and you accept that. You don't have to have God in order to have such faith. So I'll put this a little differently. I think we believe in things because there's miraculous or this or that, and instead of accepting the humanness of things. See, I found this in India. There's lots of these gurus. Everybody claims they're God or whatever. No. They're just human beings. And the more you can accept that, your faith is much stronger. I'll put this differently. Doubt is much more powerful than belief. Why? Because if you doubt something and it survives that doubt, it's much more evidential. But faith, or I call it premature belief, is no good because you'll buy into anything, which is complete. You can be duped by cults, by people making claims they make miracles that don't. So what I'm arguing is that skepticism or doubting is a really good religious pathway that should be taught. That's not.
I told this story because I like the story, but in this story, the farmer still believes, but the priest is the one that we critique in this story, and I did it like this.
Yeah, but the way you told the story was that the fox. You said the guy was like shocked that he realized it was a fox. Yes. Versus it should be. It's even better. It's even better because I'm helping a little animal have food. So you could reverse that story in a different way.
I mean, yes, but in my heart and just the way I know it is that he still believes, and that's the story, but I'm trying to critique the priest. I'm trying to say to the priest, this little farmer is saying to the priest that it's not everything is in what you know, like all the knowledge.
I agree. No, I absolutely 100%.
Just like in the story that you said.
No, that I 100% agree, and that's why you asked me what I really believe. Ultimately, I said I was stupid because we are on the same boat. We're all like paddling in this ocean that we don't really understand. I just don't like when we start to assume that we know more than we actually do. And I think, to be somewhat critical of my own Catholicism, it has too much of that. It acts like it knows something that it doesn't. And because it does that, it's tortured people throughout history. The Spanish Inquisition, we tried to forcibly, I think about the missions in California where like 90% of all the Indians were tried to be forced into be converted, ended up having some venereal disease, or I'm exaggerating, but some bad thing happening. I think religion needs to get humble. Where ironically, science, by its very process, has to be humble. Because it never absolutely knows.
So do you think that we're just making a mistake of putting these labels? Because we put a label, I don't know anything about Catholicism, but to me it sounds wrong. Like, oh, let's blame it on Catholicism. It's the people that did these things.
But it's always the people, no matter what the religion is.
Yes.
The people in any particular religion don't think it's the people. They think it's, well, they think their particular version of God or of Jesus is the right one. That's just the way it is. Nobody thinks they're a member of a limited, nobody goes, I got the wrong religion. Right? Nobody thinks that way. That's the hubris of human beings. We all think we have the truth. And I'm arguing the opposite. I'm saying, why don't we just confess? I'm thinking of Nicholas of Cusa, very famous Catholic cardinal, which is ironic for me to quote him in a book called Unlearned Ignorance, which is in Latin. And he says, the key to life is to learn how stupid we are. So keep going.
I would like to find out a little bit more about the way that you practice your beliefs. Well, within your family, like, do you celebrate Christmas? Do you celebrate?
I do all those things, but they're just like it's like 4th of July. I mean, it's not like, oh my God, Jesus. Obviously on December 25th, Jesus wasn't born on December 25th. That's all kind of been added on, and no, we don't have any kind of like. I don't go to church or anything like that. No, of course not. And then with the way my kids are vegetarian from birth. My wife's vegetarian. She's been vegetarian for like 40 years.
Do you eat fish?
No.
So
no fish,
dairy and
no dairy. I don't eat dairy.
No.
I'm a strict vegan. I'm strict.
Oh,
vegan.
you are.
Yeah, I've been vegetarian for 53 years, I think. But my son, Kelly, to his great credit, about 6, 7 years ago, or 5 years ago, asked me, he goes, Dave, Papa, why aren't we vegan? And he convinced me, and I switched like that. So I haven't eaten a piece of dairy in 5 years, 6 years.
How do you feel about that?
What do you mean?
Like, do you find it hard? Or
No, it's easy as hell. Look, again, there's people like to act like they're more moral by the things they eat or don't eat. Vegan sometimes can be obnoxious. Like, I don't buy that. I just think we eat that we're comfortable with.
Oh, I see that.
Yeah.
I see that in today's society, like if you're vegan, you're supposed to, you're like better than
Right, which
others.
is not true. We're just omnivorous. Everybody eats what they got to eat, and so when you ask the question, is it hard for me? No, but if it was hard for me, right, I
Just
probably wouldn't do it.
practically, like, okay,
No.
you sometimes feel like, oh, I want to have grilled cheese sandwich.
No, it's not that hard. In fact, there's a new cheese called Rebel cheese, which is vegan, and it's the only vegan cheese that tastes like cheese, because vegan cheese sucks. But this Rebel cheese is really quite good. No, it's not hard. Now, that goes back to my point. If it was really hard, knowing who I was, I couldn't do it. Do you understand?
I see that definitely. But why do you really do it? Is it because it's beneficial?
No, I think my wife had the best answer. It's just, first of all, it's preference. It's just what I prefer. I don't want to eat meat anyways. You can give me $1 million to eat meat, and I wouldn't do it. I don't want it, and I don't drink either. So the question is preference. That's number one. But then number two, people come up with explanations like, I like if there's a spider in the room, I don't step on it. I like to pick it up and take them outside, or I don't want to hurt things. I just don't like hurting things, even if I do. Right? I'm sure I have. So that's kind of, I couldn't eat a cow. I couldn't do that. I couldn't kill a cow. I couldn't kill a chicken. I don't want to fish. I used to fish when I was young. I used to like it. It was fun. But I wouldn't want to do it now.
I see.
Now, how are we doing time-wise? Just so I know, because class is at 11.
11:12.
Okay, good. We're good.
We
So
have
we got
another 10 minutes.
Yeah, easy. 15.
So maybe we have like.
We have 15 more. Don't worry. We can do this again next week if you want.
Actually, what I'm most interested without looking at this, because I have so many great questions. Something that I'm interested in, just how do you see forgiveness? How do you see, like, again, but you explain selfless love. Is everything just so practical for you? Is everything, I would save my...
No. See, again, let's go to the opposite. I don't sit there and think logically, rationally, deductively, I'm doing this. I don't have that idea. It's just natural to, just like what you do. It's just natural to you. And yes, there are explanations, and I can come up with, I do it for this reason. And it's not really true, right? I mean, the fact of the matter is that I just want to be nice to people because I just want to be nice to people. I feel better about life. I don't need some overriding philosophy. I don't have some overlying philosophy that says you got to do it this way or that way. I just don't think that's the way I operate.
So, what do you think about humility? And okay, let me. I'm gonna read this. If humans are the smartest or the most developed beings on the planet because of the evolution, right? Why is it still important to stay humble?
I don't think we are. I don't think we are the smartest in the best. I don't buy it for 5 seconds. I'll give you an example. Patricia Churchill at UCSD did this about 35 years ago in a wonderful interview with Meredith Doran. She said, wait a second, a beaver makes a better dam than I can do. A dolphin surfs better than I can do, right? Birds can fly, I can't. So each species is adapted to its local eco-niche and has a certain advantage. Our advantage is we have this large 3 pounds brain, and we have this opposable thumb, and we can do all sorts of dexterous things that are really quite good. But look, if I can't breathe for a minute, I'm dead. So I'm like a fish who acts arrogantly in the water, but without the water, the fish is dead. So you have to be naturally humble because I'm not living me. Remember this. I don't know what a single thing is ultimately. I don't know where I am ultimately because the planet's orbiting. I don't know who and what is living me because my heart's being beaten, right? I can say electricity, I can say, from natural selection, I can say God, Jesus, whatever. I don't know. And then I'm going to die. So how can I be arrogant in that situation? I should be naturally humble. So I think humility is just the natural state of being honest about our existence.
So just to quickly go back to that, what you just said, so everything is just an accident.
First of all, to assume that, if I answer that and say yes, that assumes I know. I don't know. Do you understand?
Yes.
However, I will say this much. I do think, and I did this in my class, maybe I did in your class, maybe I didn't. I think I did in my religion class. I'll make it real quick. I broke my ankle about 40 years ago playing basketball. If I go to my fundamentalist Christian friend, he'll say, you broke your ankle because of, your bad basketball player. But he would also say original sin. Because if you go back to the Adam and Eve story, remember there's two trees in the garden of the tree of knowledge and the tree of everlasting life. Oh, everybody forgets the second tree. The reason they get kicked out of the garden is not because of the first tree, it's the second tree. God doesn't want them to have everlasting life because they become like God. That's what the snake's telling the truth. It's really interesting. Nobody actually reads the book. Go read it. So, original sin. That's the reason the world's cursed. And that's why Jesus had to come back, resurrect from the dead, to take over our sins so we could all be purified again. So the world's cursed, according to Christianity. So I broke my ankle ultimately because of Adam and Eve, because, we screwed up. I go to my Indian friend, they'll say karma. In your previous life, you ate a tandoori chicken, and now you got to pay the price, right? However, if I go honestly to somebody, like a skeptical doctor, he would simply say, pardon my language, he would say, shit happens, deal with it, which means he doesn't know the answer. So my response is, I can't say the universe is a total accident. However, it's more humble to say that than to say it's karma and original sin. Because I'm confessing I don't know. Whereas the other two positions act like they metaphysically know why you're acting the way you are. So I argue, science does this, there's a natural humility when you think things are accidental. Because you're basically saying, I don't know the causes.
I see. There's a show that I watched recently, One Strange Rock. I'm gonna definitely go back to it because I wanna exactly write down what they're saying about the way the planets I can't even repeat this. I can't repeat it, but basically what they're trying to say, because everything is perfectly aligned as it is. That is the reason why we practically exist.
Yeah.
Because
No, I know. It's
an oxygen or Earth's axis
yes,
or anything
absolutely. It's a well-known argument in physics. It's in astrophysics. The argument is that if you had a hydrogen atom, which is the simplest of all atoms, and let's imagine you had 3 electrons versus just 1, the whole universe doesn't exist the way it does. It's so perfectly fine-tuned to house life. But let me make the counter argument to that, why I don't buy that for 5 freaking seconds. Because there's no life on the sun, no life on Mercury, no life on Venus, no life on Jupiter, no life on Mars until Elon Musk gets there, no life on Pluto, there's no life in massively 99.99% of the known universe is probably just empty freaking space. Now, if you built an office building where the occupancy was 0.00001 of one office space being met, being fulfilled with somebody in there, and all the other things had empty space, you wouldn't say, oh, that was really intelligently designed. You would say that was stupidly designed. This is where evolution, contrary to creationism, has a much better explanation. It's not survival of what's best, it's survival of what's good enough. And it's not that good. That's why there's suffering and misery. I mean, if this was intelligently designed, well, I'll put it differently. If you bought this product at Costco, you would have returned it by now.
I understand everything what you just said, and you did such a great job of taking me somewhere where I didn't want to go. You're very good at that. No, you're very good at that. Because you really strongly believe in what you believe.
No, it's not. But watch very carefully.
From my
it's not my belief. Watch, I understand that. It's not my belief in the sense I believe this. It's what I just said is existentially. You and I would agree, right? You would agree that people die, right? You would agree there's suffering. You would agree there's no life on Venus. You would agree with all that. So it's not a belief. It's the best evidence that we presently have to explain the situation. That if you and I can both agree on it, I think we get to throw out the word belief. We can simply say we agree on something.
However, my point of view, when I heard this amazing, elaborate explanation, how the earth exists
Yeah,
and we
right,
are the
right.
way we are because of this, that, and this and that,
Right,
and this
right.
statistics and that percentage,
Right.
the way I look at it is that how they went into such length of explaining this mathematically and whatever, and then they said, wow, all of this just by pure accident. I'm going to go
Yeah.
back to the show and I'll
Right,
tell
I
you
understand,
exactly.
I understand.
But actually, you're pretty much saying the same thing without a bunch of numbers. But the way that everything is so perfectly aligned.
But it's not perfect.
And-
You're making a mistake there. It's not perfect. Is human life perfect?
But it exists.
Yeah, but so watch. Again, you can argue against me if I'm full of crap, but I just need to play this out.
Mm.
If you and I, before you came here, if you went to the 7-Eleven and scratched off a lottery ticket and found out you won, fair enough,
Mm-hmm.
you would have to say, for you personally, everything had to correlate in such a perfect way that you wouldn't have won.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if you didn't stop at the stop sign, you weren't late, or whatever it could be. Now, you forgot about all the other people that lost. So when somebody says, oh, it's so perfectly aligned, it's all, I said, wait a second, time out. Just as my analogy.
Mm.
If 99.9999% of the known universe is just empty space like a bad parking lot, then the argument of intelligent design really doesn't seem very impressive to me, especially in light of quantum theory or astrophysics and the idea that this might be a multiverse. That is, there might be trillions of universes for which we have no access. And in this one particular universe, Goldilocks thing, you and I say, oh my God, we exist. What are the odds? It's unbelievable. But it's not unbelievable. It's just odds.
But again, what I'm trying to say,
Yeah.
even though there are billions of losers in this
Right.
game of this lottery, this guy that won, everything was perfectly aligned for him. That's what I'm trying to say. Because
But that's narcissistic. That's narcissistic because you're not objectively looking at it. I'm not you. I'm talking about the guy.
Mhm,
That's
mhm,
narcissism.
well,
Because think
in
about
this
it.
example,
Yeah.
he didn't really ask for it. In this
No, 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 no,
example, he
no.
didn't really buy this ticket because the planet didn't ask for it. We didn't ask for this. But what I'm trying to say is that oh, this is so perfect, that is so perfect, and everything, but everything is just an accident. Do you know what I'm trying
No, I'm
to?
not saying that. I don't think it, you see, in evolution, we can't say everything is an accident. Because remember, there's a thing called natural selection, which means certain things are going to survive and certain things are not, given the geometry, the parameters for which we live. Now, I got to pause for 1 second. How many do it time-wise?
24.
We got 2 more minutes before I have to run to open that class up because we got to talk about. I teach a world religions class.
Oh wow!
So there you go.
But you took me. You did such a great job of taking me
Away
more
from that's
completely-
that's
But
terrible.
that's okay. I love it.
Okay, let's go for one last question. Just go for the jugular.
Okay.
And then we can do this again. Listen, I'm totally free. This is the perfect time for me. So
Okay.
just so you know.
For me as well. Okay, maybe we should actually close with this. If everything came from randomness and chance,
It didn't though.
why do we crave order, beauty, and meaning?
Yeah, right. No, I understand. I think that we got to be careful about the word is everything came from chance. First of all, the answer is we don't know that. Fair enough, right? I can't say everything came from chance. I don't know that.
I'm gonna record you next time when you
Yeah.
say chance in the class.
Yeah, no. But what I meant by it, watch very carefully what I meant by that. Is a very good point you made. From an epistemological position, when I use the word chance, you could also use the word I don't know. There's a difference. See, epistemologically, when I say chance, I really mean indeterminate. That is, we don't know exactly because we can't get, like I said, when you go to at the quantum mechanical level, and when you try to understand the position and momentum of an electron, let's say, and then all of a sudden we realize it's probability, we realize it's chance, it's indeterminate. That doesn't mean I know it's just chance. It means that I'm at a point, the only best explanation I have is indeterminism. That is chance or probability, and using statistics can give me a better explanation for why it works the way it does. But deep down inside, there might be some other causal reason for which I have no access. So you can't, watch, I don't use chance as like, oh, that's the explanation for things. I use chance as a placeholder to show us that we have a limitation in our knowledge system. So we don't go metaphysical. I don't invoke God, Jesus, Buddha, or anything else. That's why science, to its great credit, makes progress. It has a natural humility to it. So I don't want you to de facto say, oh, I just say it's all from chance. I don't know that. I'm too stupid. If I was smart, I could give you an answer like that. I don't. Does that make sense?
Okay, you kind of defended your beliefs.
Yeah. Well, you keep saying belief, but you got to be careful.
How should I?
You should simply say a point of view.
My
Because when you
defense
say,
is that this is not my first language.
Yeah, no, but what I mean is when you say believe, and I got nothing against
Point
that,
of
but
view.
I just think a point of view makes it much more, because when we say belief, it's dismissive. Like if I say, oh, that's your belief, like you believe something. So what I mean? So instead you say, oh, that's your point of view. And now your point of view may be better than mine. So I have to listen to it. But when it comes to belief, it's almost like I can't change. Like, oh, that's my, like religious people, I believe in God. Versus, well, my point of view is
Oh,
I think
see.
there's a
I see.
design to it. Does that make sense? It's just there's a guy named Wittgenstein in linguistics, which says the more precise we are with our language, the more we can actually make progress with our communication, whatever that means. Is that cool?
That's a great saying. Thank you so much.
Oh, no. And
Um,
I was very honest with you. Does that make sense? Like, I wasn't holding back. I want you to be, you gave me what you really wanted from me.
You are a great interviewee, if that's the expression.
Yeah.
Right?
No, but what I mean is I don't want to be offensive or anything. I just
Sure.
wanted to be, you
No,
wanted to
you,
be straight.
You are so great. I wish everybody in this world, everybody who interviews people had people like you sitting with them, because but you're also very good at taking people somewhere where they don't want to be.
That's
You're
terrible.
very good at
But
that.
I want you, next time we interview, okay, I want you to give me your opinions. I want to listen, I'm an idiot. I need to know what you think. Right? And you need to give me a persuasive argument from your position. Because then maybe you'll show me and I'll convert. I'll go,
No, I think that
oh, I gotta run.